It is unbelievable.
I don't want to be going on in and surgically putting back their muscles together and then
I'm glad to
have the skill to do that.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm not all that interested in you doing that to me. So we're good.
I never, ever want to be a doctor.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, you're gonna have to go to law school. But if you go to my college, you'll get into law school.
Cool.
If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to have to go to graduate school. And if you want to go to graduate school in medicine, you'll get into graduate school in medicine if you go to my school.
If I was a doctor, a lot of innocent people would die.
Right, which is why I'm not.
If I was a doctor, a lot of innocent people would have throw up in their insides when I did an operation.
Note to self, if you are sick and Sabrina is your doctor, just die. I got it written down now, so you're good. We're clear. I didn't want to forget that, I would get sick and my brain's fuzzy, but I get it written down now, so I'll remember to just die rather than have you. Canada. If you want to be a Canadian, going to our university will not help you. Although, we will teach you the kinds of skills you would need in order to be able to persuade Canadians that they should make you a Canadian. Yes, question over there. Yes, what question exactly is that? Ms. Descalzo, Mademoiselle Descalzo. What question is that? Canadian bacon and eggs Benedict is delicious. We'll see. We'll see. As a creative writer, if what you want is to become like a novelist or whatever, as a novelist, let me tell you, this is the kind of education that you want. It's the kind of education that I got more or less by accident when I went to BYU. I did have to take a bunch of useless classes where I went to like physics classes and they taught me that loaded trucks weigh more than unloaded trucks. And no, I am not making that up. I went to that class 4 times. 4 times. I can still remember both of the things I learned. And then I didn't go to that class anymore, and I went and I took the final and I got an A. So, yeah, that was really, loaded trucks weigh more than unloaded trucks. They do. No, I can see the incredulity on your face. I can see that you do not believe me, but I am telling you the truth. I learned that in my physical science 101 class. My roommate, my poor dear roommate, Davey Hudson, studied and studied and studied. He studied until his eyes were bleeding. He went and took the final. He got a B. I forgot when the class was. Because why would I go to that? Anyway, I'm just saying. I wandered into the classics department in John Hall. I was taking some history class, and John Hall said, "Why aren't you in classics?" And I said, "I don't know, because I'm a something other major. I don't know what I was, like an English major or whatever." He said, "You don't want to be an English major? That's stupid." Like literally said, "That's stupid." I'm like, "Well, you what?" And he said, "What? You like pulling the wings off butterflies?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, that's what you're going to do. Wait till you get into Emily Dickinson poetry. They're just going to take the poem and rip the thing to pieces and leave it lying there in shreds on your desk. You don't want to do that. Do you like politics?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you like languages?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love languages." "So you like writing?" I said, "Yeah, totally. I love writing." "So you like history? You like literature?" I'm like, "I like all those things." He's like, "Then why are you in classics? Because that's what all that is." I go, "Okay." So then I graduated in classics. You want to be a writer when you grow up? Well, don't wait to grow up, Sabrina the Dragon. Start writing. Oh, speaking of which, I should. That's lovely. Get published some more. That's good. Novels are great. Let's see. I want to share my desktop. Wait, that's not how that song goes, I don't think. So right here is the latest. This Trinity Flynn novella will be out before the end of. Can you guys see that? You guys can see that, can you? Be out before the end of the. This isn't the Trinity Flynn one. This is the anthology, the cover for the anthology, which some of you, I believe, have stories in. Where's the back cover of this? Where my other share? Does that work? That doesn't work. Oh. So Spooks is the name of the anthology. Some of you guys have, I want to do something different with my sharing. I want to share the whole screen. Oh, hey, Vivian. I want to share the whole screen. I want to share my desktop so all the kids can see. So this is The Bone Stand Up is the latest Trinity Flynn novella. That will be out right around Thanksgiving, maybe the week after Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. And here is Spooks. This is the cover, the front cover. This is a mock-up, actually. It's not the final front cover, but it's the front cover of the anthology. I think the back cover is here. So as you will note, Sabrina B. Jones is on the list. She has a story in the anthology. Calvin and Logan Hansen. Take a bow, gentlemen. Their story is in there too. A couple more from our group here that have stories in the anthology. Working on final edits over the course of the next week and hope to have it done in time for Black Friday. Can't promise, but I think I think we'll make it. Trying to get it done. I had help getting that done, but then my help got engaged. Not to me. Yeah. To somebody else. So, and then because she got engaged, she had like stuff she needed to do, like, I don't know, kissing probably. So she didn't do any editing, so I had to do all the editing. So it's really taken me a lot longer than I was expecting, and I'm sorry about that. You have my abject apologies. It was supposed to be done for Halloween, and it will be, but not for Halloween, not until Halloween 2020. Anyway, so that's actually not funny. I don't know why you guys were laughing. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff happening. Also, oh, no, that doesn't matter to you guys. But there is a come to Europe with Boise, half of Boise plus Mr. C meeting. When is that thing? I forget when the meeting is. I'll remember when the meeting is here in a minute. It's an electronic meeting, sort of. Here's all the cool stuff. The Germany and Switzerland one. Okay, so in March it's Rome and Greece. Germany and Switzerland is 2021. So you have plenty of lead time to get money together to be able to do that. And then it's tour of Shakespearean England, if I remember correctly, in 2022. Love the thumbs up there. Is that Rachel Lou's thumb? It's Rachel Lou's thumb. Oh, Liza has a thumb too. After she got her arm sewed back on, it doesn't work as well as it used to, but it still works okay. It was your right arm, right? Or was it your left arm? I think it was your left arm you lost, isn't it? You wanted to go to Switzerland and read Heidi. Oh, I'm doing that now. What? Right arm? Left arm? Left arm. McKenna says left arm. She's never wrong.
I remember.
Yeah. McKenna is never wrong. So I'm sure it was the left arm. Okay. That's plenty of chit chat. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that but I'm feeling much better now. So thank you for being charming and affable and stuff. Let's talk about World War I. Let's talk about 2017. Why don't you guys talk about 2017? Somebody tell me about tanks. We get tanks in 2017, or 2017, 1917.
They are large.
Thank you, Goose Trees. Thank you. Sorry, I got confused there for a second. 1917. Thank you very much. In 1917, we get tanks. Somebody tell me something about tanks. If you don't know anything about the earliest tanks, use your fascinating electronic devices and dig up stuff and then tell me about it. I don't want to tell you about tanks. I want you to tell me about it.
The first
Tanks. Are you going to go first or am I going to go first?
Josh, you get to go first. Josh goes first.
Tanks were a huge, huge game changer in the World Wars. It was the ability to be able to get troops across the field without them getting hurt. It's actually kind of interesting because the first design ever for a tank actually came from Leonardo da Vinci, in which he imagined a metal bull that would carry troops over to the other side.
Hold a minute.
So that's
yeah, cool, huh? Da Vinci tank. Keep going. Okay, who else wants to talk about that?
Well,
I
tanks
have more information if you guys want it, but I'll let others talk first.
Okay.
Somebody hasn't had me yet. So I should give it.
Who
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tanks were also helped destroy the barbed wire, but the first couple of tanks were easy to fall into holes, easy to get broken down, and if they weren't broken down, as soon as a soldier was on top of them with a hand grenade, there wasn't anything else you could do.
Remember, you also said that tanks didn't really work at first because all the trenches, tanks couldn't really go over that, and also the ground had to be pretty level. And so hitting like big rocks or that, so I guess they kind of did work, but they also didn't.
Yeah, they're not Superman, are they? So they're not like invincible. The original tanks were not real fast, not super mobile. Somebody else needs to get in to the class. There you go. Somebody tell me what a tank trap is.
A pit with a blanket over it.
Okay, and why does it work?
Because the people inside the tank can't necessarily look very easily discern whether it's flat ground or a blanket or in a hole. It also works because you can't exactly see underneath the tank and go like, oh, hey, there's a blanket here, but there's not a blanket there.
Right. Think a little bit about this. Okay, so you have this giant metal box. I mean, giant is the wrong word. Okay, roughly the size of a car, metal box. Okay, that's pretty good in terms of defense. That's pretty good. But does anybody see a problem with that? It's a completely like a tin can, like completely closed off metal box. Does anybody see a problem with that?
Maybe the pilots couldn't get out. I mean, I don't even think the hole had to be super big because I think couldn't it like lose balance if like one of its wheels got, I mean, the whole tank could probably tip.
Okay, so first of all, like, what do you run it on? The first tanks had wheels, which is okay, but what are your wheels made out of?
Rubber.
Yeah, probably rubber. And if they're made out of rubber, then what happens to them when they run over boiled wire? When they run over barbed wire? I'm trying to read the chat and talk. Yeah, okay, so that doesn't work. So you need a different thing with your wheels. But then if you have wheels, like what if there's a big pothole or a big rock? Also, as McKenna says, and we know McKenna is never wrong, you got a problem with seeing. Like if it's a completely enclosed tin can, you can't see out of that, right? So what do you have to do so that you can see?
You have to have some
Yeah, you need a can opener. You gotta make a window.
window.
But if there's a window, that also means room for them to be able to shoot them.
Yes, very good. You could make a tank entirely out of glass. Then you could see great.
But then you'd get exploded. But I actually have an idea. If you use like metal mesh for the window, that might help.
Okay, I like that. Metal mesh is not a thing we can do in 1917. We'll work out how to do that. But you're right. Like that would definitely help. So it's a trade-off, right? So if you go like this, everybody just go like this. Okay, go like this. How well can you see the stuff to the right and the left?
Not very well.
Yeah, not that great. So what do you have to do in order if you want to see something over to your left? You got to turn your whole self, right? In order to be able to see. Your peripheral vision is not good. So, I mean, a tank is super scary, but it's got a lot of blind spots. For more on, this is World War II, but for more on that, see Indiana Jones and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Where a dude on a horse can ride circles around the tank. First of all, it's just as fast as the tank, although that's not a very good tank. But second, it's got tons and tons of blind spots. So including like down. Like you got your hands like this. I mean, here's your little slit, and you can look out. That's great, and you can see like right ahead of you, but you can't see down very well, so you don't know. You could be attacked from the rear, but then you have to make a hole in the rear. See what I'm saying? So you're trading.
Or you could poke your head out the top.
There you go. Great idea. Let's open the top and stick your head out.
Grenade!
Yeah. Or sniper. Or. But if you look at pictures of tanks on the move, they almost always have a dude like either they have a hatch for the driver, or there's a dude riding up on top. Better field of vision, but then blam, headless guy. Yes, that's exactly right. So it's a trade-off, right? So it's not as if, oh, we've got tanks now. We have tanks now. Now we're invincible. Yeah, that's not really how it works. Plus, suppose the guy you want to kill is like right next to you. How do you do that?
You mount machine guns on the top.
Ah, so you add additional armaments. Now you're going to make the tank bigger and heavier so that you can carry this stuff. Plus, you need more guys to be able to shoot these things. You could run them over if they were in front of you, if you could see them.
Well, like in chess, if you're playing, like say you have a knight, it can't get a certain piece if it's in a certain position. So a tank's kind of like that.
Right. It's really great. That's an excellent example, actually. What is the term for using infantry and artillery and armor and aircraft? What's the term for that when you build an army like that?
Armored division.
Yes. There you have different divisions for different kinds of things. Large death squad. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. This is called combined arms. You need combined arms if you're going to be successful. If you, think about it. There's lots of different ways to think about it, but think you're going to do a naval bombardment of something. Okay? Go ahead.
Well, if like you were talking about, you could have multiple things in a division. You could just have the guys with guns go like in front of the tank to make sure there's no traps.
Aha! This is how combined arms works. Those of you who are gamers, especially real-time strategy gamers, you played Battlefield, Battlefield is a great game for that. Or you've played, it doesn't even matter. World of Warcraft will do. Heck, League of Legends, StarCraft, Fortnite. Well, less Fortnite, because Fortnite's a single person. But what happens, but Fortnite, all right? So StarCraft is also super fun. But if you don't play video games, this won't work as well. But if you do, you understand what I'm talking about. So you're playing Fortnite, and you have a bunch of short-range weaponry, and you're super, super strong. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody that could shoot long distances to kind of watch your back while you're moving across the battlefield? Don't you need that? If you're playing StarCraft and you're heavy on infantry, that's awesome, but what if the other guy's got tanks? Now you got trouble, unless you have aircraft. Then your aircraft takes out their tanks. But if all you have is aircraft, you can bombard them all day, but it doesn't do any good. You can't take over anything because you need infantry.
Just give your giant metal turtles guns.
You need to put guns on your giant metal turtles, but what if they're super big guns? Horde of tanks, that's true. That's kind of OP, it's true. Yeah, it's teamwork. Not everybody's good at everything. If you play basketball, you know that it's a good idea to have some small little guys and to have some big hulking dudes. You know that if you play really like any major sport, except possibly soccer. But in soccer, it's a really good idea to have somebody at the back who can use his hands and a bunch of other people who are capable of defending that guy so he doesn't just stand back there and by himself while they pepper at him. You can play basketball if you're short. Of course you can. I'm short. I play. I played this morning. Very poorly, but I played. It was a bad day. I'm sorry. It was a bad day. But yeah, combined arms starts to be a big deal. When you start, think about this. When you start World War I, what do you have? Like kinds of units that you can put on the battlefield. Give me a list of like the kinds of units that you could put on the battlefield.
Cavalry.
Cavalry, yes, mounted cavalry. What were they riding, by the way?
Horses.
Horses, yes. Horses are super maneuverable. They also don't need gas, although they pass gas. Anyway, they don't need gas, so they can, eat grass and stuff along the way. So easy to kill.
But you can kill horses.
Yeah, they're kind of easy to shoot. Bullets do not bounce off them.
Well, also, if you kill the horses, there's like a 9% chance horse will fall on the rider and kill the rider.
Shoot the horse, yeah. If you're being charged by cavalry, shoot the horses. I know it's mean, but it's a lot harder to hit the little dude sticking up on the back.
Mr. C.
Yes.
They could have several like smaller armored jeeps following it and stuff.
Okay, and they did have armored cars. You did have armored cars at the beginning of World War I, but they were notoriously unreliable and slow, and not nearly as useful as they will be when we get to World War II. But you did have armored cars. You didn't have tanks, so you got cavalry. What else have you got?
Use a cavalry of turtle.
Okay, turtle formation. It's good. Squishy meat bags in armor. Yeah, okay, yes. Your squishy meat bags are normally called infantry. Thank you. Okay, so we have cavalry, not Calvary. Calvary is the place Jesus died. Cavalry is mounted soldiers. Just pointing out. They get sick and die easily. Kind of, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. So defending them, no armor. So you get cavalry, you have infantry. I'm sorry, your laptop died. What else have you got? Light armored cars, not really anything significant, but light armored cars. What else do you have? Cavalry and infantry, and what else? There's one other. We haven't talked a lot about it, but we should talk a lot about it.
Just men?
That's infantry. And in the infantry, you will have, I saw medics listed earlier. Yeah, good idea. Somebody who can put your meat bags back together again when they break. Always a good idea. You have artillery. And yes, okay, and you do have submarines and surface ships. And you have the machine guns will go with your infantry. These are infantry units, machine gunners. You do have planes, but nobody's using them for, what did they use planes for at the beginning? And I've got a whole thing on planes a little bit later. What did they use planes for at the beginning?
For spying.
Yeah, basically just to see where everybody was. Planes are notoriously prone to crash. Don't fly well when there's a lot of wind or if it's raining. So they're not, yeah, and grenades are notoriously unstable and unreliable. There's a 20% chance it'll blow your hand off when you're getting ready to throw it before it actually gets to the enemy to blow their heads off. Bazookas were not invented yet. We do not have on battlefield rockets, but we do have artillery units. Artillery units are not super mobile. They're mobile. Flamethrowers come, that's a World War II thing. Not really a World War I yet. Strafing doesn't happen because nobody's figured out how to shoot from your airplanes yet. But we're going to get to that in just a minute. So not a lot of, there's units, but we're missing heavy armored units like tanks. We don't really have that. And our air arm is not really put together yet. We'll talk a little bit later about the Lafayette Escadrille and some other kind of cool stuff. But for the most part, you have unarmored troops, essentially unarmored troops, charging heavily fortified and heavily defended positions, either with artillery, heavily defended by artillery, or by machine guns, which many of you have brought up already. And how well do your unfortified meat sacks do against that kind of throw weight of metal? Yeah, not real good. So in light of that, let's look up a particular battle. There's a battle that I want you to look up. The Somme also works. I did not spell that. I'm pretty sure I misspelled Passchendaele. First Battle of the Marne will do. Yeah, really any of them will. Passchendaele is the one that I just love the name, but the battle was not great. And 1917 has a lot of this stuff. We've now been, how long have we been fighting the war now? 1917. Three years. Yes, you did read about this. We'll talk about Black Tom, or you can talk about Black Tom if you want to. So let's talk about, somebody tell me what, if you put a battle in the, nice mustache. If you put a battle in the chat, open your mic and tell me about it. Tell me about that battle. Of course I noticed it. It was like 2 feet wide. How in the world would I not notice that? Page 75 in this thing. If you have it, get it. Page 75. At the Battle of Neuchâtel in March 1915, quote, "It was foggy and the attack was delayed 2 hours, which didn't do our spirits much good," British Corporal Alan Bray recalled. "Then the time came for us to go over. We had to run forward about 50 yards, up some planks over our own frontline trenches, and then across a meadow where it was almost impossible to run. We could only stagger along. We were going over those planks. About half of us were knocked out, either killed or wounded, and going across the meadow, there were a lot more killed. When we finally stopped and lay down, trying to get what shelter we could from the tremendous rifle fire which was coming over, a sergeant just in front of me jumped up and said, 'Come on, men, be British.' So we jumped up again and followed him. He ran about 6 yards, and then he went down too. Well, then there were a dozen of us left, and we ran on another 20 yards toward the German trenches. Those trenches were literally packed. The men were standing 4 deep, firing machine guns and rifles straight at us. We found ourselves looking straight up at the German trenches while they were firing straight down, gradually picking us off. Eventually, there were only myself and another chap that weren't hit." After 3 days and nights under fire at Neuchâtel, British troops were so exhausted that they fell asleep. According to the official British history of the battle, they, quote, "could only be aroused by the use of force, a process made very lengthy by the fact that the battlefield was covered with British and German dead, who, in the dark, were indistinguishable from the sleepers." When the battle was over, the British had succeeded in capturing just 1,200 yards of ground and what was now the ghost village of Neuchâtel, while suffering more than 11,000 casualties. I don't even want to read the rest of that, honestly. I don't even want to read the rest of that page. Hold on a minute. So, Talk to me. What did you read? If you read this, and I know most of you did, what did you read that impressed you? Oh, yeah. Hold on.
I thought that British commander that jumped up and said, "Come on, let's do this." I thought that was pretty brave.
Super brave, right?
It was brave, but maybe not wise.
Well, you can't stay there though, can you? I mean, think about it. You guys have been in those trenches. You looked across at each other. Suppose you were halfway across. You can't really stay there, can you?
I guess.
You want
Yes.
it'd
Yes.
be better to die trying than die as a sitting duck.
Right. I mean, you can stay there if you're dead. You can get down and wait, crawl back in the dark. Sure, you can do that. The weird thing is that some of those charges actually worked. Like some of them, they actually got to the other trenches and managed to. Then once you got down to the other trench, though, then it's hand-to-hand fighting. Knives and bayonets. Fists. Not awesome in a lot of ways. Shell holes everywhere. Wait until it's nighttime. Sure. Yeah, you can do that. Or ask politely and say, "Can I go back to my trench now?" I'm sure that would be fine. Share a drink with them. Yeah. Under that pressure, I think I would die without being shot or stabbed or mortally wounded. Yeah, I don't know. It might happen. Michael, I mean, it's not. I don't know. Somebody tell me about the Somme. SOMME. There's 2 or 3 battles here that we need to make sure that we talk about at least a little bit. Somebody tell me about that. If you don't know anything about it, find it in the book. If you can't find it in the book because you don't have it because your little sister has it, then use the amazing power of the internet, McKenna, and find it for yourself. Look it up. Tell me something about it. I don't want to tell you about it. You tell me about it. Probably raise your hand and I'll call on you so we can keep it. Morgan.
So the commander-in-chief, General Douglas Haig, he believed that it could end the war, and he didn't realize that once they went over the top, they wouldn't be able to go very quickly because they were weighed down by all the equipment, and so it didn't really go as he wanted it to.
Okay, so it turned out it went slower than they thought. Sabrina. Dear Sabrina.
In the book it said like he had planned out everything exactly, but the problem with that is that you don't know what the enemy's going to do.
Famous phrase, write it down. No plan survives contact with the enemy.
Okay.
Right, that's a good thing to keep in mind. It's very true. Yeah, Elizabeth, go ahead. Wow. Okay, hold on. No plan survives the enemy. Okay, there's also that. The Battle of the Somme, also known as the Somme Offensive, was fought between 1 July and 18 November. Oh my gosh. How long is that? Wait a minute. What day is it? It's not 18. It's only 15 November. So if we were in this battle in 1916, we would have been fighting since before the 4th of July. That's a long time, people. Both sides of the upper reaches of the River Somme in France. The battle was intended to hasten a victory for the Allies and was the largest battle of the war's Western Front. 3 million men fought in the battle. 3 million men. Just for fun, somebody look up the population of Idaho.
Well, I looked up some of the things. It said it was 141 days for.
Okay, that's a long time. What's the population of Idaho? Anybody know? Sabrina?
1.754 million.
So it's twice the entire population of the state of Idaho. That's how many people. 1 million men were wounded or killed. So if we dropped that little battle on Idaho, you would have a 60% chance to be wounded or killed, including all the men, women, and children in the entire state. Your chance of being wounded or killed would be 60%. If you have 5 people in your house, 3 of them will be wounded or killed.
Only Melba would survive.
Three million people. That's the Battle of the Somme. Let's try the Marne. They're all around rivers here. Let's try the Marne. Somebody look that up and tell me a little bit about. There's 2 battles, I think. There's 2 battles of the Marne.
How do you spell Marne?
M-A-R-N-E. I put it in the chat. And the Grinch grinned.
Battle
Mel
of
was the
the
first.
Marne. Well, I know a bit about the first Battle of the Marne because the battle I reported on.
Awesome. Go for it. Tell us about it.
Well, the battle plan for the Allies was because they kept just getting pushed back and back and back. And this is the first Battle of the Marne, by the way, not the second. And they just kept getting pushed back and back and back until they decided to take their last stand at the Marne River. And so Sir John French, the field marshal.
Time out. Just I'm come straight back to this. I just want to ask a question of everybody. Why are rivers such a big deal?
Water for men.
Okay, first of all, there's water for the men. Okay, that's one reason. Why else?
Is it because the ground's softer there?
Ground is soft there. Why else?
Because if that's crossing the river, it's
it's hard for the enemy to get to you.
You can't get across. You can't get across. Those of you who are familiar with your Old Testament and Book of Mormon battle strategy, rivers are huge because getting across them, you can cross them, but it's hard. You either need a bridge, if you're talking about bringing vehicles across, you need a bridge. If you're going to wade across, the river can't be real deep. Otherwise, you can't wade across it.
SEC.
Yeah.
Or you could invite Moses to come over and use his.
Yeah. Okay, right. Well, speaking of that, okay, so Moses gets driven with the entirety of the children of Israel down to the shore of the Red Sea, and they're pinned against the Red Sea because you can't cross it. So the Egyptians figure they're just going to come in and slaughter them all. And what happens? Moses and the big stick, okay? And the water opens up and they walk through on dry ground. And the Egyptians do what?
They try to follow.
Yeah, they follow them. And what happens? Then the water goes back in on them and the Egyptians all die. Okay, so yeah, rivers, oceans, etc. These things are enormous. Plus, one other thing with rivers, transportation. You can use them to bring lots of gear up and down because the friction is so much less on a river. So it gives you opportunities to transport men, arms, all that kind of stuff up and down your rivers. But getting across them is a beast. It's so hard. So that's why a lot of these battles end up being fought alongside or taking place near or whatever rivers. They're hugely important battlefield markers. This is going to be true in World War II. It's true today. It's still true. We can
It's
fly you over it, but
It's hugely important if you can capture a bridge before they blow it up.
that's right. Yes. Blowing up of bridges is plus you can clean stuff. I didn't think about that. You can clean your men, which is kind of important because they get, I don't know if you know this, but people tend to get stinky after a little while when all they do is run around with guns and shoot stuff and lie in the mud. They tend to like smell poorly. And when they do that, bugs love them. And then they get sick. And it's so being able to wash your troops off is kind of a big deal. Okay, back to the goose trees.
Well, Sir John French, the field marshal for the English, decided that on September 5th they were going to, like, pretty much as they were trying to cross the river, they were going to, like, destroy them entirely, like, charge them kind of thing. But things didn't exactly go according to plan, and the stupid French stumbled into the Germans on September 5th, according to plan, but not exactly in the way they needed to. And then the battle commenced and lasted for 4 days, and the Germans suffered a humiliating defeat, so that Helmuth von Moltke the Younger reported to the Kaiser that the war was over and that they had lost. He even suffered a nervous breakdown when he heard that his two armies were about to be encircled and destroyed. And then another 4 days passes with the Germans retreating during those 4 days, and that's the Battle of the Marne.
Cool. Thank you. Let's talk about one of the other most important battles of, I guess it counts as an important battle, but not. Yeah, that's how you spell it. CHENDAELE. There we go.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the Germans retreated to another river.
Right, sure. Passchendaele. Somebody tell me about that. When people talk about the battles, about the pointless battles of World War I, this one pretty much comes, the sum is definitely counts. But this one also comes up quite a bit. If you're looking in your book, this is pages 120 to 125. And you probably should. What happened at this battle?
So it was the Battle of the something or other. I don't know. It was also called the Third Battle of Ypres. Ypres. Okay. She's like, I can't see all of this. Okay, there you go. Where was I? Sorry. It was on the Western Front from July to November 1917. So like, it's like from July to now.
Yeah, this is exactly 1 year after the Battle of the Somme. Remember that one? The one that killed 2/3 of the people in Idaho? Yeah, okay.
It was in Belgium, the Belgian city of, wait, no. Oh, for control of, I think it's land by the Belgian city of Ypres. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
It was part of a strategy, but again, you don't know what the enemy's gonna do. Just saying. Passchendaele.
Passchendaele, yeah, good.
Passchendaele was on a ridge east of Ypres. So yeah, they were fighting for control of ridges by Ypres. Let me see. I'm just it said there was unusually wet weather. I'm just looking at the things. It said something. Oh, unusually wet weather in August. The diversion of the British infantry to Italy enabled the Germans to avoid the general withdrawal, which had seemed inevitable in early October. So yeah, someone else can keep going. I can. Okay, yeah.
Somebody read for me from what page is that? 125, 124. From page 122. There's a report there from a British artillery commander. Starts with the ground is churned up. Somebody have that? Want to read that for me? Yeah. Shell them for a couple hours and then hit them with gas. Great stuff. Nobody wants to read that? I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but I don't really want to.
All right, I got it.
Cool, thank you.
Ground is churned up to a depth of 10 feet and is the consistency of porridge, reported a British artillery commander. The middle of the shell craters are so soft that one might sink in out of sight. There must be hundreds of Germans dead, buried here, and now their own shells are replowing the area and turning up the dead bodies. Wounded men died when they were unable to lift themselves out of the soft, shifting slime. Despite mounting casualties, General Haig was determined to persist no matter how wet the battlefield became. The enemy is faltering, he told his commanders, and a good decisive blow might lead to decisive results.
One more paragraph. No, you know what? Don't read that one. Skip that next paragraph and read the one after. The one that starts from other shell holes.
How far? Oh. From other shell holes, from the darkness on all sides, came the groans and wails of wounded men, faint, long, sobbing moans of agony, and despairing shrieks. It was too horribly obvious that dozens of men with serious wounds must have crawled for safety into new shell holes, and now the water was rising about them, and powerless to move, they were slowly drowning.
Keep going.
Horrible visions came to me with those cries of men lying maimed out there, trusting that their pals would find them, and now dying terribly alone amongst the dead in the inky darkness, and we could do nothing to help them.
Yeah. Out of their 90 men, 15 were left. Passchendaele ends on November 10, when the Canadians actually captured the by now completely destroyed village. The British lost 250,000 men, 70,000 of them killed. That's not quite the population of Boise. They gained 5 miles of mud. let's move out of the 1 and 6. That's not great.
I actually found something else about that.
Cool.
So the battle lasted 105 days. The casualties, the British lost 275,000, which I think you already said, which was about a 2,100 average per day. Wait, was that a different one?
No, that sounds right. That sounds right.
220,000 German. 90,000 bodies were never identified. 42,000 never recovered. It is estimated that 4.25 million shells were fired.
Wow.
If we're still talking about Passchendaele.
Yeah, well, we kind of are. I don't want to talk about that anymore. That's too sad.
Yeah, well, it's not.
It's pretty sad. That's not, I mean, it isn't every battle of the war. I don't want to give the impression that every battle was like this. But, gosh, so many were. Let's see. Let's talk about something a little bit less depressing. Let's talk about World War I aircraft. Let's talk about development of technology. So let's take a look at this. Here's a website that you can look at for yourselves, but I'm going to show you kind of what's on it because I think it's fantastic. This is militaryfactory.com, and if you go here, they have a more or less comprehensive list of all the aircraft from World War I in alphabetical order. It's truly fantastic stuff. It's an amazing website. Seriously, what nerd made this website? Okay, but all kinds of stuff. Most of the aircraft, as you will see as I scroll down here, most of these aircraft are 1917, 1918. There's very few of them. Here's one right here from 1914, the Albatross B from 1914. Here's the Albatross C from 1915. Yeah, and it's like it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Like there's an incredible, like this website, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. This is just the H's. I've been scrolling forever, and we're only on the H's. Okay, so somebody talk to me a little bit about, well, here's a fighter. We'll just choose this one. Here's the Halberstadt. No, let's get the plane. Let's get the FGH. It's back up here. Let's get the Red Baron's plane here. There we go. The Fokker DR. My internet connection is unstable. No, it isn't. Okay, this would have been painted red, of course. Yes, but the Red Baron is a real person. Yeah, we're going to read letters here in, what time is it? 10:10. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to read letters here in about 10 minutes. Here is, without the ad, because they did not have Lending Tree then, but this is the Red Baron's aircraft, and there really is a Red Baron. Who is the Red Baron? This one, it's sorry, go ahead.
I think the Red Baron was some sort of pilot, but also there's pizza called Red Baron.
That's true. It's not as good a pizza as he was a pilot. Ends at 11 usually. Whoops. There we go. Militaryhistory.com. Manfred Albrecht Freiherr von Richthofen. Yes.
Don't.
Manfred von Richthofen is the Red Baron, and he flew a Fokker triplane. He painted entirely red.
You most definitely Coke.
So painted entirely red, which is cool. The reason he did that is because it would let everybody see him. He wanted them to see him. So triplanes were very stable in the air, but there are some difficulties. You can see right here at the front. What are these things here, these black things right in front of the pilot? These here, what are those?
Machine guns.
They are machine guns. And which direction are they pointing?
Straight.
They're
Upwards.
pointing forward, aren't they? And
Oh, they're pointing forward so we can't shoot things on the ground, only in the air.
well, you have to dive to shoot things on the ground, which has certain amounts of dangerousness to them. But there's a bigger dangerousness thing.
Don't have seatbelts.
There are no seatbelts. That's true. Or airbags.
It can shoot the propeller.
Yeah, I was gonna say this can hit their.
What else is just forward of the pilot?
The propellers.
The
engine.
propellers. Does anybody see a potential problem with that?
That's why they invented the interrupters.
That's correct. Tell me about that.
I don't really know about the interrupters. All I know is that some guy invented them so it could slow down the blades just enough that the shots can get through without hitting the propeller. And
yeah, because what happens if you fire your machine gun straight ahead while your propeller is going?
You're gonna hit it. Probably will deflect some bullets left and right, or hit yourself with them by deflecting it backwards, possibly.
But the propeller's made of wood. So what happens to the propeller?
It can break the wings by ricocheting, or it breaks the propellers.
Yeah,
and
you
it
just
knocks
shoot your propeller
itself
off.
out of the sky.
Would break the propeller.
Shoot your propeller off. Yeah. Some cartoon holes will appear. Yes, in cartoons this happens a lot. And it's funny in the cartoon. It ain't funny when you're 600 feet above the earth and you shot your propeller off. It happened a lot. Casualty rates were very high. Then they invented the interrupter. It's a chain, so it connects the machine gun firing mechanism to the propeller so that the machine gun is firing through the propeller and missing the blades. It's a very cool invention, as long as your chain is tight, because as soon as your chain is not tight, what happens to the timing?
It's delayed.
Yeah, you've been riding a bike when your chain slipped. Imagine you've had that happen to you where your chain slips. If your chain slips when you're flying, your machine gun will shoot your propeller off because now the timing is screwed up.
Or you could just change the location of the machine guns.
You could. And there are machine guns that fire backward. Let's see if I can find a tail gunner plane here. This is called a tail gunner, having a tail gunner. Let's see if I can find, this is going to be late in the war, so it's going to be 1918. But looking at these planes, what is back here?
The tail?
Is that important for flying?
Yep.
Just a little. And that means that if you're not careful, what will you do?
Shoot your tail off.
Shoot your tail off, yes. And then your plane will come down. Here's one. The machine gun back toward the fighting toward the rear. This is a Junkers. This is a German fighter plane. The Junkers, this is a good plane. The Germans made really good planes. They are really good with machinery. So this is a two-seater, one seat here for the pilot, one seat here for the tail gunner, which allows you, like, what if you're dogfighting, okay, you got planes up here flying around. Where do you want to be if you're going to shoot the other guy down?
Maybe above him?
Above him is good because you can dive at him. Okay, but where else? Maybe the best place to be.
Behind him,
Well, laying behind him.
But if you have a tail gunner plane, then you're gonna want to be in front of him.
Yeah, except that that's where his guns are too. So you might want to be like come at him from the side or whatever, but it makes dogfighting a lot more difficult, right? A lot of these planes are built. There's some really cool ones here. I've spent so long on this website, so long.
My original thought for moving the guns was actually just to put them on like the belly of the plane, but that works too.
You could do that, but then that's really hard. Like it's hard to aim. But since you brought it up, let me go here and show you an innovative aircraft. This is the De Bruyere C-1. This is an actual
That's interesting.
It's a World War I aircraft. This is an actual World War I aircraft. Does it look to anybody else like it's upside down?
Sort of.
Yeah, it looks that way to me too. And interestingly, the only time they flew one, guess how it ended up?
Upside down?
It did. It ended up upside down. Yes. They only flew it one time and it flipped over and crash landed and broke and they never fixed it. In fact, here are actual pictures. Okay, here's the actual airplane. This up here in the front is not really a machine gun. It's a front-mounted cannon. It fired explosive shells. So this sucker could have been totally devastating, except it didn't work.
What was the catch?
Well, it didn't work, was the catch. Otherwise, it would have been great. It's a super idea. It doesn't look like an old airplane. It looks more like a kind of a modern design, actually. I loved this thing. But they never fixed it. And it only flew once. This is the picture of the only one, apparently, that there ever was. It has dual front-mounted cannon. And it would have been devastating in the air if it hadn't wrecked, and then they never fixed it. But there's a lot of this kind of stuff.
Why is the tail upside down?
Well, it's not really. It's really, well, okay. The whole plane is kind of built upside down. The pilot did not die because, as you can see, like here's the wing. The wing sheltered his head. So he didn't die. He wasn't even injured, actually. But the plane did flip over and come to rest on its top, which actually looked more normal than when it was sitting where the wheels are. I don't know why they didn't try to.
Is the propeller in the back of it?
Yeah, the propeller's in the rear. So the pilot sits here, it faces forward like this, and the propeller's in the back. And it did get off the ground, it just wasn't terribly stable.
Yeah, but if they had fixed it, then that means it would probably, like, whenever someone's going down and they kind of get it into a glide and it looks like they're probably not going to, hit the ground right, you could just flip it on over, the wing shelter the head, and you live.
And you live, yeah. A lot of cool designs. I recommend it. It's not just also, I'll just show you. It's not just aircraft. Aviation is the big one, but there's an incredible amount of stuff on this website. An incredible amount. The people who put this together are serious geeks. Aircraft
I agree.
by type, modern, what it looks like in the cockpit, which is super useful if you're writing novels that happen to have these things in them. Aircraft comparisons, aircraft by war. This one's from Vietnam. By decade, by country. It's incredible. The research that went into this is just impossible. I want to talk for just 1 second before we get to letters, because I want to have you guys read your letters. But I want to talk about one of the little known but seriously kind of important, well, I guess it's important to me, units of the war. And this is a unit called the Lafayette Escadrille. When did the United States get in the war?
Wasn't it after the Lusitania?
Well after. Lusitania is 1914, I think. 1917, that's correct. So the United States enters the war in 1917. Everybody else has been fighting for 3 years. Were there no Americans in Europe at all? Or were there Americans over there?
There
might have been.
There were. Absolutely.
quite a bit of Americans, because remember there was like the whatever loan thing it was, the like troops and stuff, like day-long year resources, and then they pay you back.
Yes, yes. The American Legion was over there. These are now America is technically neutral, so they couldn't openly fight. Like if they got captured, they had to pretend like they weren't fighting. But some of them wanted to fight. Like they wanted to fight. So a group of airmen, a group of American airmen, 45 or 50. Oh, yes, the church did have missionaries around the world. And they had them in World War I, and they had them in World War II in the places where there was fighting. You should look some of this up. Some really interesting stories. Yeah, some scary stuff. And also, I gotta say, some really cool stuff too. Some really, really cool stories, especially in World War II. I'm more familiar with those. But okay, so there's a group of American airmen, about 50 of them, that really want to fight. So they originally organized themselves with no colors, and they went up and did reconnaissance work. But then they wanted to shoot at people, but they couldn't put an American flag on their planes because America was still technically neutral. So they put French colors on their planes, and they flew as French units. And they called themselves the Lafayette Escadrille. There's 45 or 50 of these guys, and they fought combat missions for the French before the war started. A couple of these guys were black. You don't get black aviators again in the United States until the middle of World War II. This is like 30 years, not quite, 25 years before this. The French didn't care. If you could fly and you could shoot, they were all about it. They didn't care what your color your skin was, which I think was really cool. And the Lafayette Escadrille is one of my favorite units. It was a highly decorated unit, but it had a very high casualty rate too. Roughly a third of the Lafayette Escadrille died during the war, mostly because of various kinds of plane malfunctions or whatever. But there were a lot of Americans who were involved in the war before that. In 1917, the United States gets excited, and this is chapter 13, where the United States starts cranking up its military operations and sending big numbers of troops over. Eventually, more than 1 million troops will be sent over to Europe to fight in the war. And when you start loading in big numbers of fresh troops onto one side, really the other side, their days are numbered. And next time we'll talk about the collapse of Russia. We'll talk about the collapse of Germany, how they eventually lose the war, and what happened. And we'll start talking about what happens after that, which is not like a super cool thing, really. But what I want to do now is I want to read some of these letters. So if you wrote a letter, raise your hand. If you wrote a letter, raise your hand. How many people did we eventually get? Did I get Beck letters? I got letters from the Becks. Liza, raise your hand, dang it. Did you write one? Or is it just other Becks? I thought you did. I was pretty sure. Look at that. Disembodied Beck arms floating into the screen. Oh, wait, there's a body there. Never mind. So I kind of assumed there was. Evan, will you read your letter?
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth, I'll have you read yours. You can read it in French if you want.
Guten Morgen. Hallo Mutter und Vater. Today is my 3rd month in Germany's Great Army. I am stuck in a trench all day, every day. The enemy is shooting bombs at us. Our lookout blows the whistle twice for bombs and one long, sad whistle for gas. It happens all hours of the day. Last night, we had bombs at 2, 4, and 6 a.m. again. We hardly have any food, and the food we do have goes to the sick. I have not eaten in 2 days, and the water is bad. At best, it's just murky. I got your package. The new uniforms were a big relief. Before then, we had no way of washing clothes. It was so bad, people started to get rashes. I enjoyed the homemade bread as well. Danke. How is the family? Are grandma and grandpa okay? How is everyone? I now more than ever envy you for all of the food you get. I love and miss you all. Remember, this may be my last time that I am able to write. And if not, see you at Christmas. Tush. Evan Bilbo, Zone 9, Troop 7, Soldier 3.
Dang, dude.
Thanks.
One long, sad whistle for gas. That was good, man.
Thanks.
I want to use that as a title of a story, frankly, but not today. I'm already like sort of depressed. I don't want to write that story today. Awesome, Elizabeth.
Mr. C, can I say something really quick? Me and Alex didn't get the homework assignment till this morning.
What is
so our mom forgot again, so we'll do it.
Okay,
today.
cool. All right, cool. I appreciate that. Are you micable, Elizabeth, or you just have to post it in the chat? Can you? Your internet's horrible.
Come on. Oh, is it working now? Can you?
It
hear me?
is. Yeah.
Sweet. I couldn't find the right button for the microphone. There's I have 3 options. Okay. Dear Mom, I don't know if this letter will get through, but I am writing anyway. You're being shelled almost every day. The boys are playing a game. The last person to dive for cover when the shell hits gets a point, and the first person to duck loses a point. I'm not doing very well. I don't dare stay up long enough to get points. A couple of the boys have died because they didn't get their heads down fast enough. How is Betty doing? I hope she's doing well. You said in your last letter she was learning to read. I hope she is able to read this letter. She is going to do really well in school. Is there still school at home? They have been sending back a lot of the boys that were hurt real bad. It smells real bad down here. Nobody gets to bathe, not if they want water to drink. Lots of the older men say that we should do our best to stay clean, because otherwise we'll get sick. It's a god-awful feeling when we see somebody new throw up or their foot get all swelled up. And sometimes they just don't get up at all once they get to sleep. That happened to Jimmy last week. Could you tell his mom? Tell Millie I love her. I've still got the ring, haven't lost it. Lots of the guys are married or want to be. They lose their rings real fast if they're not careful. I got mine tied under my helmet real secure. Whenever I put it on, I can feel it against my head real cold. We're not supposed to have them. Lots of the boys were told to leave them behind, but I've got mine. Some of the boys say it's a girl's ring because it has a jewel in it. I tell them it is. It belongs to my lovely Mildred back home, and she's got mine. Millie said she wanted to be a nurse and come out with me. Did she do that yet? I hope she's doing what she can help. Sometimes in the morning I wake up and I think I'm home again, but then I see the mud walls next to me and my rifle's still in my hand and I realize I'm still in these awful trenches. It's always cold and wet. When it rained, some of the new boys pulled their shirts off and to try to get clean in the rain, but then they'd realize their shirts were all muddy and their efforts were all for naught. The higher-ups still say we'll be home for Christmas. I'm not sure how much I believe that no more. Nobody advanced more than 10 feet without getting gunned down, and we're supposed to be done with this whole thing in 3 months. Tell Millie I love her and I haven't lost her ring. Tell Betty and Frank that Daddy will be home soon. Your son, George.
You people can write. Dang. The boys are not too bright. Where did you come up with that? Where did that game come from? I thought it did. I mean, you have a terrific imagination. Like, I have no trouble believing you could come up with something like that. But dang. That's... Men. Rachel Lou.
Actually, I was raising my hand for Eliza.
No, I know she was not.
Okay, I'll read it for her.
That's good.
Come on, sis. It's like the funniest story ever.
You've never been shy in your entire life, Eliza.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
She hasn't shown you her kindness yet.
Go back down.
Come
I'm
on,
not
Eliza.
gonna make you. You don't have to. I'm not gonna make you.
No, I'll read it.
All right.
It's hilarious.
Okay. We'll have the backs read theirs. Then we'll kill 3 birds with 1 stone here.
Okay. Go. Okay, dear family, this is red because I ran out of ink last week, so I'm using the blood from my arm that was blown up. Sergeant C nicknamed me One-Armed Joey. MRE food tastes like barf, and I am allergic. Why do I have to? Okay, and I am allergic to dairy, and the MREs have dairy in them. So every time I fart, all of the people in the trenches pass out, so they always have to wear gas masks. I am the secret weapon for our side of the war. They turn my farts into bombs and throw them at the enemy. The enemy do not have gas masks, so they all passed out, and while they were passed out, we went out and shot them all. So don't worry about me. I am fine, except for the MREs. Love, Eliza. One-Armed Joey.
Andrew, stop.
I don't know whether to be thrilled or horrified by that.
Hurry.
Yeah. All right, who's next? Isaac, you can go next.
Rachel can go next.
Rachel Lou.
All right. Dear Mom, I miss you very much. Things are going not so good here. The Germans have taken the Carrion Bridge that goes across the Meuse in Belgium. If we can take the bridge, the American army will be able to send thousands of soldiers into Belgium. The reason why we need this bridge is most of the bridges have been demolished to make it harder for the Allies to push the Germans back. I'm in the group to take back this bridge. My group is small because we had been sent to scout out the area and see if the bridge had been demolished, like most of the others had been. To our surprise, the Carrion Bridge was still standing. Our general says we must take the bridge. The bridge has been lined with dynamite to blow up if enemies cross the bridge, such as my group. They will blow it up, but still everyone will be most likely to die. The casualties will be high, and I will most likely die. I hope that I will be alive to see you again. Your loving daughter, Rachel.
Good work. Good work. Isaac, how about you?
Okay. Dear family, we have been in our trenches for 5 days, and the German artillery has been bombarding us for 3 whole days and nights. The Germans have found the trench I am hiding in as a sniper. Luckily, I have dug a 10-foot deep, 10-foot wide hole, and I have built a wooden frame over my trench and have reinforced the top with 2 4-inch plates of steel, and I threw dirt over it so that it looks like a hill. I made 2 1-foot by 1-foot square holes so that I can shoot. I have made my floor and walls wood, and I have made me a nice sleeping area for myself. It is farther into my trench, and I made it out of wood also. So far, I am safe from the bombing. I hope this war will end soon, and I will be able to come home. Love, Isaac.
Nice job, Isaac. That's good. Goose trees. How about you guys? Well, you both have letters, I think.
Dearest mother and father, are you doing okay? I hope you are. How are Mary, James, and Michael? Are they okay? I love you guys and I miss you too. Please take care. Anyways, I'm doing okay. On October 19th, we had a firefight. We lost a lot of men. War is not what I thought it would be. I feel very lucky to survive the firefight. The men aren't getting as much sleep, food, and water as they used to. They miss their families. Some of them are getting sick and grumbling. We sleep during the day. It is very hard to with the sun shining, and then we work at night. The trench is very muddy and wet. Makes our clothes very dirty. Anyways, I hope you appreciate my letters. I love to hear from you. Yes, it makes me happy. Letters and Gabe.
Terrific job. Very good job.
I'm working on a letter. I've not accomplished much on it, but it's about a nurse, like, talking to her mother.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I can't wait to read that. Goose trees, you have another one? You have another one, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
That'd be great. Go for it.
Well, it's more of a report, less of a letter, but I can come up with the letter like right on this.
No, you're good, man. Just go for it.
All right, I have to find it to my email. I sent it to you. Still my father's email.
My guess is, Jetty, that we would be able to tell that you made it up on the spot. A lot of these letters have significant research in them. I'm impressed by that, and that's exactly what I was hoping you would do, is that you'd actually read some of these letters and you would think a little bit about what the conditions were like that the people were writing them in. So,
well, I've got mine pulled up now.
Go for it.
All right. This is about the First Battle of the Marne. The Battle of the Marne was an important one for the Allied forces because before the Battle of the Marne, the Allies are just suffering defeat after defeat. And then they get close to Paris, the Allies make a stand at the Marne River, hence the name the First Battle of the Marne. The battle plan of Field Marshal Sir John French, the England commander, was simple: attack and mow them down with machine guns and charge when they get too close. On September 5th, mid-afternoon, the French shell ballooned into the Germans. So the battle commences, not quite according to plan. The battle lasted 4 days, with the Germans' General Helmuth von Moltke hearing that his two armies are about to be encircled by the Allies. He suffers a nervous breakdown, and his right-hand man took over and ordered a full retreat to the Hastings River. The Germans retreat for another 4 days, making it September 13th. This retreat marked the ditching of the Schieffelin plan so much that Helmuth von Moltke reported to the Kaiser, "The war is over and we have lost." Being in Sir John French's shoes, first off I would think, what nice shoes they are, and then I would have made a few adjustments to the plan for the Battle of the Marne. Like I would have waited till a shot rang off from a battery I had nearby to the river, and I would have disguised some machine guns in some rubble or something nearby that area. And as soon as that shot was fired at the Germans, all heck would rain down. I think I forgot to mention I would have had some batteries at the ready a few miles back behind the river, so that if the Germans advanced past the machine guns, I would get to explode their faces off, and that's what I would do. Mind blown. That's what I had.
Cool. That's good. And I love your reworking. It's always easier to rework it, you know, after the battle is over. You can always go back and say, here's the way we should have done it. But that's
Well, why fix something that isn't broken?
exactly. I mean, if you win the battle, then it's easy. But if you don't, yeah, as William says, hindsight is 20/20. Who else wants to read theirs? Looking at, I know a bunch of you didn't get them on time and you're working on them now, which is fine. Some of you have hedgehogs. We have 2 of them now.
The hedgehog is so cute. I just want to say that. The hedgehogs, I mean.
We actually have 3 now. See, here's Andrews.
3 of them. Oh, that's great.
Mine's the dark one. Andrews is the one that looks like a pig. But it does. It has a little snout.
It's true, the hedgehog moment.
Wow.
Yes, apparently.
Wow. Wow. All right. Nobody else? Okay. We'll have some more letters next time. I'm going to talk just for a second about the entrance of the U.S. into the war, and also a little bit about how this war worked versus when we come into World War II. There's some significant differences. Okay. Obviously, the technology grows exponentially between the end of World War I and World War II. World War I is really the last war that you could confine to the front lines. So in World War I, if you weren't at the front, your chances of being killed were not terribly great. There was still, you know, some disease, and you're going to have troubles because of lack of food or those kinds of things. Oh, okay, cool. McKenna and Morgan, we'll have you read those in just a second. I missed your waving. But in World War I, if you were well behind the line, most German cities, most French cities, all the English cities were untouched by the war. The war happened somewhere else. And its effects were tragic and felt by everyone everywhere. But when you came home, your town was at least still there. This will not be true in World War II in Europe. It will be true still in the United States, almost entirely. And it changes the way the war works when your own town can be bombed. When you are having to run to air raid shelters, even though you're not a soldier and the war is happening 1,000 miles away, it changes significantly. It makes a big difference. And it will change the way people think about the war and the way people write about the war dramatically when we get to that. Morgan and McKenna, you choose who goes first. I don't care.
Morgan will be going first. So. I'm gonna my mailbox and find the picture of it.
One of you will probably have to drop video in order for the other person's bandwidth to be good enough.
Yeah.
For you. One of you will probably have to.
Okay, Morgan, turn yours off and come join McKenna. Here, I'll show you.
We'll see if that helps our audio. Give it a try. Morgan's actually has worked pretty well. Her video's been non-glitchy most of the morning.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Not real well. Yeah, your audio's not that great. Not good enough. Post it in the chat for us, will you?
Well, she just needs to get back on and read it on her. Okay. If I just go down, we'll get back on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. That works. Tell us about the Precious. Okay. Well, we're working out Morgan and McKenna's stuff here. I will tell you. Oh, wait. Let's try. Oh, there they are. Back on the other one. That's a better camera or possibly a better computer. I don't know. Give it a try. Turn your audio on and see what happens.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's way better.
Okay, Morgan's going.
Use this. Near the Somme River, August 31st, 1916. Dear Mom and Dad, how am I supposed to tell you this? I want to forget it all, but how can I when it's happening to me every day? A few days ago, the other side let out a bunch of tear gas. Soon we were all doubled up. I couldn't breathe. I suddenly realized how important something as simple as breathing was to me. I felt like I'd been pepper sprayed in the eyes. I'm fine, Mom, but we've all been given gas masks. Tomorrow, we're going over the top. Commander-in-Chief Haig says that this battle could end the war. One can only hope. That's all we can do to keep from believing this dreaded war will never end. Two rats fight over a piece of bread at my feet. We have got to figure out a way to get rid of them. We've started being more careful about where we put our food. Yesterday, I left out some bread, and this morning I found it gone. My birthday's a week from today, and one can only hope it's better than today. More likely it'll be spent over the top fighting the enemy. I miss you so much and look forward to returning home. With much love, Morgan.
Very good. Heartbreaking, but very good. Go ahead, McKenna.
Okay. Dear Mom and Dad, I've been stuck in this battle trench for days. Ever since we set out for war after training, the days have turned into a blur of marching, digging, and hiding. Bullets whiz above our heads. When I think about home, it seems like a dream. Some made-up fantasy that I try not to think about. One of the only things that keeps me from going insane is writing. Writing it all down so I know that it's not a nightmare, so I know it's real and that it matters. I try my best every day, truly, but some days and nights it's hard to listen to the whistle and boom of bombs being dropped, and it's hard to fall asleep to the sound of rats fighting over your rations or the sound of groaning men. I hear rumors of our troop being sent over the boundary line next week. To think about climbing out of our trenches to run across to the enemy.
who, not to mention, are shooting at you with approximately 3,000 guns. Anyway, I want you to know that I miss and love you dearly, and Morgan, Adrian, Camber, and Trevor, and everyone else back home. Love, McKenna.
I'm right here, sister.
Wow. That's I love how you made those names up for the family. Like, that was super cool. That's
I know, look how creative I am.
very creative, supremely creative. They're familiar to me, as if I had heard them before, and yet I know, of course, you just made them up. So,
Do you want me to read what I have so far?
why not?
Okay. Hey, Mom, how are you? How are James and William? Do you like the new fashion? I know you're interested in that sort of stuff. Waking up is the best part of my day because I know you won't have to mourn my death. Dad is not doing well. His leg is badly infected. I believe it may have to be removed.
Yeah. And remember, well, yeah. Next time we get to talk about the number one killer in the war.
Yep. Yay. By the way, this is from the perspective of a girl named Lucy. She is a nurse or sort of a doctor out near the battlefild.
Cool, love it. Okay, that brings us up pretty much to the end of 1917. We will end the war the next time with Spanish flu. And the victory of where the Allies finally are able to punch through enough of the German defenses to be able to end the war by pouring millions of men at it. We'll finally be able to take care of that. Really good job, by the way, with your. There is not really a winning battle, but there kind of is like a final one. We'll talk about that. You should read the rest of the book. We'll get all the way to the end now. And it does have a small, there's a chapter at the end called Losing the Peace, which is a little bit ahead of where we're going to be, but that is okay. There's some cool stuff left that will be valuable to us as we go. Did good with these letters, people. If you didn't write one because of whatever it is, you didn't get it or you didn't know or you just didn't do it, do one and send it to me. I'd like to read it. I will respond to every one that I get. So I'd like to get them. I think they'll be useful for you, and I think it'll be you'll learn some stuff from doing this that I hope will be valuable to you. Questions? Yeah, yes, even you. You are not as special as you think you are, sir. Except you kind of are, but not maybe in the way that you think.
So I kind of want to point out something because you mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Okay.
You said some tanks have had rubber wheels. No tank has ever used a rubber wheel before. So tank.
Oh, really?
Part of what classifies a tank is using treads, although the first models like Little Willie and the Tarksville, I can't remember what it's called, had a few wheels along with tracks, but they were just bare metal wheels. That's part of what affected their mobility.
I must be thinking about amphibious assault vehicles.
Amphibious vehicles are really cool.
Amphibious vehicles are super cool. Yeah, we're gonna go from kind of armored cars and some trains and a couple of airplanes in World War I to like an impossible blizzard of machinery in World War II, an incredible variety of machines of all types, varieties, sizes, and whatever. But we don't get to that until the middle of January.
Yes, I know, and I can't wait. I love tanks.
Well, you're going to get plenty of opportunities. I even
have my big book of armored vehicle history.
Oh my gosh.
SPG. It has tanks, it has SPGs, it has APCs, it has everything.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna have you teach like an entire class on that. Like, why not?
There is a lot of stuff in here, and there's a lot of stuff that happens with the machinery over the period of time. There's so many different models, so many different designs.
Right. I mean, it's one of the things I love about looking at this aircraft site is the difference between the aircraft in 1914 and the 1918. They're like completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go from the mother.
We're really good.
Mother in World War One.
Oh yeah.
All the way up to Tiger. Up to the Tiger 1 or the Panzer 6.
Oh,
yeah, the Panzer 6 as they knew it.
Oh, Panzer.
Insane.
Oh my God.
Panzer. The Panzer. I love the Panthers.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Blitzkrieg. We'll be talking about but no, we're not doing that now. Don't. We're not there yet. Questions for me? I don't think so. We will not see each other again before Thanksgiving. So let me offer to you my deepest thanks. I am always kind of stunned when I do one of these classes that there are people in them. I mean, that sounds, Josh is laughing. Like, what? But I don't know how to describe it. Like I'm always shocked. I figure I'm going to show up and like nobody will be here, and that won't even be a surprise. Like that's that. So it's always amazing to me that you show up and that you do stuff, and you guys had a lot of really great stuff today, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful to you for this. It means a great deal to me. I tell people that this is one of the, they're like, well, where do you teach? I'm like, well, I've got these kids up in Idaho, and they're like, wow, in Idaho? I'm like, yeah, there's like 40 kids up there that we all get together, and well, what do you do? Like, well, we went out in the boonies and dug trenches in the dirt, and then lay down in them and jumped up and then lay down in them again. And they said, really, you got teenagers to do this? What sort of drugs did you give them? And I'm like, no. We like, I can't explain it. Like, you guys are just different. You're just different. And I'm grateful. I want you to know that on Thanksgiving Day, I'm going to be thinking about you guys. Not all day. Okay. There has to be room for pie, but I will be thinking about you. Thank you. I'm just, thank you. You amaze me. You honor me, and my heart is full of gratitude for you guys and for your parents. So once upon a time, actually, I still have it. It's upstairs. I obtained, one of my students in one of my classes decided that his Christmas present to me was going to be the One Ring. So he gave me the One Ring. I mean, it's inscribed with elven runes, and it's very gold and very heavy, and it's very heavy and beautiful, and I love it. I can't wear it all the time because sometimes I want people to be able to see me. Anyway, so I went to the temple to do baptisms for the dead, and they were having a little trouble with the water that day, and so it wasn't warm. The water was kind of chilly. And so while I was in the water doing baptisms, the group of people that we were doing baptisms for were all the names that were coming in, the people were doing, they were all Hungarian family names. And so I could pronounce them all. And so they had me in the baptistry for like forever. so I kind of got a little shrivelly, and so the ring was really loose on my hand. So I went back to get dressed, and I dropped the precious. It slid off my hand and fell onto the floor and rolled away, and I couldn't find it. Oh gosh, I'm gonna cry in the middle of my funny story. Anyway, so it rolled away and I couldn't find it. I'm like, that sucks. And yet it does have a mind of its own. Yes, indeed. Yes, that's sort of, I'm like, this is so sadly like reminiscent of like, anyway. So, so a couple of months later, I'm like, I'll just try. So I went into the little office there, and I said, hey, when I was here a couple months ago, I lost a ring. And they're like, oh, well, maybe we found it. Can you describe it? I said, yeah, it's heavy and gold. And she says, okay, well, that's like a lot of rings are, heavy and gold. Does it have any writing on it? Does it have like an inscription on it? And I said, yeah, it has an inscription. and she said, oh, what does it say? And walking behind her, this lovely little lady that was there talking to me, and a gal walked behind her and sort of leaned over and said, don't tell me you can't say it in the temple because it's in the language of Mordor. And I said, yeah, actually, it is. And she busted up laughing, like howling, cackling laughter as she's walking away. I'm like, okay, all right, this is, I said, she says, well, what does the writing look like? I like, it's like a foreign language. It's a foreign language. She's like, oh, like Russian? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's
Tangwar writing.
Yeah.
The written language of the elves is called Tangwar.
Lovely. Thank you. I did not know that, actually. All right. So again, you have taught me something valuable. So I don't know if it's valuable or not, but anyway, so they got this little box out of their cabinet, and she brought it over and she unlocked it and opened it up, and sure enough, there it is. I'm like, oh, there it is. That's great. And I held it up and she said, oh, that's beautiful writing. What language is that? And I'm like, oh. It's a kind of Elvish. And the gal back, she's like now like across the room, and she busts up laughing again. She's like, you lost the one ring in the temple? And I'm like, well, it was trying to get back to its master or something. I don't know. Anyway. So she's like, okay, well, I need you to sign for this. So she pulled out a book, and she's like, it says, such and such a date. And she's like, there's a description. And so she just handed it to me and sort of went off, somewhere else. And I wrote large, heavy gold ring, Elvish writing. And then it has a place for you to sign. I just couldn't sign my name to that. See you, Michael. So in the church archives somewhere, someone's going to come across the Book of Lost and Found, and it's going to say, large, heavy gold ring with Elvish writing, picked up by Bilbo Baggins.
That's awesome! Just barely, I could hear Anara laughing from across the house.
So in the day of judgment, there'll be like a couple minutes where God has to have a conversation with me about showing appropriate respect. But I could not resist. I was unable to resist. I tried. Not very hard, really. I really didn't try very hard. Yeah, that's my life, people, in a nutshell. That's my life.
I'm laughing so hard that I'm crying.
What, the Baggins? Yes, exactly. Exactly.
That's like so funny. I think I almost wish I could do something like that.
I am a horrible person. Do not be like me. But seriously, it was hilarious. And then I just closed the book and left. I didn't want her to see that. I really didn't. But that gal who was laughing earlier, I guarantee you. See, Abby, I guarantee you she went and looked it up in the book. I guarantee you. That woman, she was awesome. Like, we bonded like immediately. We were like kindred spirits. All right, ladies, gentlemen, my dear friends, I have to go and recruit people to come to my college. So I am needed in another town. Otherwise, I would stay here and hang out with you as long as you were willing to do that. I will send out bunches of emails and stuff. Yes, I can. Absolutely. I'll recruit. I would love it if all of you came to my college. We only take 20 students every year. So, yeah, and then Frodo will come by and yeah. I'll have to give it to Frodo. We only take 20 students a year. So, I would love it if it was like mostly you guys. It's cheap. I would say inexpensive, but that's not a strong enough word. Our college is cheap. Cheap, 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 cheap. Like a bird, like super cheap. Our tuition is $2,250 a semester. Right. If you go to Vassar or Harvard or Stanford or whatever, it's $62,000 a semester. So our cost is 30 times less than theirs is. Plus, nearly everybody who gets in gets a scholarship. So this year, students paid $800 a semester. It's a lot less than anyone you could be looking at. Bye, Goose Tree. See you guys. You gotta go. You gotta go. It's cool. I'll be in touch. We'll talk. Yeah. So very inexpensive. But you get a world-class education. A world-class education. Just saying. I'll send out more about that in my email, etc. stuff. I will tell you. You can actually, it's easy. You just go to mountlibertycollege.org and I'll send all that out as well. Plus, I'm guest starring on a YouTube channel this weekend. I will send you the link to that. Yeah, I make that sound so important, and it's just not. But anyway, but I'll send it to you anyway. And actually, that would be super cool because if this is one of my students in another school, and he runs a YouTube, has a YouTube channel, and he's never gotten he gets views, but not like a lot. Like, I don't think he's ever gotten 50 on a video. So if I send it out and you guys watch it and he gets it, I'd like to like blow his channel up. That would be so cool. Anyway, so share it to your friends and have them watch and whatever. It would be kind of fun. All right, I'll send an email out sometime this weekend. You'll see that. And then I will see you again online the week after Thanksgiving. Mwah! Bless you and have a lovely and wonderful Thanksgiving. And send me email and letters and stuff. Okay, I love you. You're wonderful.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, Liam.
Bye. Goodbye, everybody.
Farewell.